The current price of gold as of May 18, 2022 is $1,815.90 per ounce. How many billions of ounces is Africa losing in illegal trade? How many billions of these dollars would otherwise be used to strengthen health care, agriculture, education, sanitation, transportation and research in Africa? Let's look at the numbers and how these activities run. Every year, billions of dollars in gold are smuggled out of Africa and into the Middle East via Kenya and Mali. The Middle East provides access to markets in Europe, the United States, and elsewhere. According to customs data, the UAE imported $15.1 billion in gold from Africa in 2016, the most of any country and an increase from $1.3 billion in 2006. The total weight in varying degrees of purity was 446 tons, an increase from 67 tons in 2006. Much of the gold was not recorded in African states' exports. This suggests that large amounts of gold are leaving Africa while no taxes are being paid to the countries that produce them. Previous reports and studies have emphasized the black market trade in gold mined by people, including children, with no ties to big business and who dig or pan for it with little official oversight. No one knows the exact value of the gold that leaves Africa each year. Not everyone in the chain is in violation of the law. Gold is typically sold to middlemen by miners, some of whom work legally. The gold is either flown out directly or traded across Africa's porous borders, obscuring its origins before couriers transport it out of the continent, often in hand luggage. For example, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, is a major gold producer, but its official exports account for only a fraction of its estimated output. The majority is smuggled into Uganda, Burundi, and Rwanda. The majority of the gold is traded in Dubai, the center of the UAE's gold industry. In 2016, the UAE reported gold imports from 46 African countries. 25 of those countries did not provide Comtrade with information on their gold exports to the UAE. However, the UAE stated that it had imported $7.4 billion in gold from them. Since 2006, the UAE has imported unrefined gold worth billions of dollars from African states, as rising gold prices following the 2008 financial crisis encouraged informal mining. A large amount of gold is leaving Africa without being recorded. The UAE is profiting from Africa's unregulated environment. Gold can be imported into Dubai with little paperwork. Governments across Africa are attempting to figure out how to manage a sector that, despite its risks, provides a living for many of their citizens and has the potential to generate revenue. According to a Tanzanian parliamentary report, 90% of the country's annual production of illegally mined gold is smuggled out. The government wishes for the central bank to purchase this. Former President John Magufuli, who has since died, launched a plan in March 2020 to establish hubs where trade would be formalized by providing access to financing and regulated markets. Meanwhile, all that glitters in West Africa's gold trade is not pure. Mali is the hub for the illegal gold trade with Dubai. The country's domestic response to trade discrepancies that enable illegal gold trading in West Africa must be strengthened. Disagreements in metal production and trade statistics between Mali and Dubai, United Arab Emirates, UAE, reveal a massive illegal trade, particularly in the artisanal mining sector. This not only costs affected West African countries billions of dollars in revenue, but it also fuels conflict through the illegal financing of violent extremism. Rising global gold prices have piqued the interest of domestic and international investors in gold extraction in the Sahel and West Africa, particularly in small-scale mining in rural areas. Mali is Africa's third-largest gold exporter, with artisanal mining accounting for one-third of total production. The country exported 67 tons of gold worth $2.2 billion in 2016. Industrial producers mined 46.9 tons, with the remaining 20.1 tons extracted through artisanal methods. However, the UAE imported $1.52 billion in gold from Mali that year, while Bamako only recorded $216 million in exports. Similarly, Mali declared 45.8 tons of gold production in 2014, compared to 59.9 tons imported by the UAE. Mali applies export taxes to only the first 50 kilograms of gold exported per month. This attracts the illegal gold trade in a region where there is no regional tax coordination framework. This gives West African gold smugglers an incentive to sell their gold in Mali for a large tax break. Senegal is thought to produce 80% of the artisanal gold in Mali's supply chain. This illicit trade is facilitated by porous borders, geographical proximity, transboundary ethnic affinity, safer routes through illegal entry points, and Mali's long-term internal instability. Mali is also used by its neighbors and beyond as a gateway to the UAE gold markets. Countries such as Libya and Venezuela have recently used Mali as a transit point to illegally export gold to Dubai. In 2020, gold trafficking to Mali reportedly brought in about $1 billion for Venezuela's government of Nicolas Maduro. Armed groups and terrorists in Africa are increasingly funding their violent activities through the illegal gold trade with Dubai. Couriers transport an average of 10 kilograms of gold illegally traded between Mali and Dubai. Flights between Mali and Dubai cost around $500, which is about 10 to 12 of gold, making a single trip very profitable. Every week, some gold traffickers ship up to 40 kilograms of gold to Dubai. This is aided by corrupt airport personnel, such as customs officers and police officers in Bamako, who allegedly accept bribes from smugglers. Mali's tax breaks continue to be appealing to neighboring smugglers. Legal loopholes, lax import procedures, and dubious practices by UAE-based buyers and the Dubai Multi-Commodity Center, DMCC, all facilitate the illegal gold trade in the UAE. Passengers arriving in the UAE, for example, are exempt from customs declarations relating to gold carried in hand luggage. As a result, foreign smugglers coming from Mali to sell their gold in Dubai's gold souk only need to show their buyers the UAE customs form obtained upon arrival at the airport, which only proves that the gold was legally declared to customs officials. Smugglers can easily get around the DMCC's due diligence system this way. There are also issues with the DMCC's ability to track the origin and supply chain of gold imported into the country. The origin of the gold is not required by UAE customs. As a result, the majority of illegally traded gold is sold in the Dubai gold souk before being traded to refineries and jewelers. The identities of foreign firms buying gold from Dubai-based refineries are also unknown. Finally, many artisanal miners in West Africa lack the financial resources to support their gold extraction operations. They obtain contract loans from Emiratis to begin mining operations, and the only way for them to repay these loans is to export their gold to the UAE. This does not necessarily entail illegality, but it is likely that most of this gold is exported through illicit channels. African countries and the UAE must strengthen their domestic responses, both strategies and procedures, as well as bilateral and regional cooperation, to address the practices and trade discrepancies that enable illegal gold trade between their countries. Hand-carried gold arriving from Africa must be closely controlled and monitored by Dubai's airport authorities. They must ensure that travelers present genuine certificates authenticating the country of origin as well as tax receipts in the country of export. Mali's tax breaks remain appealing to smugglers from neighboring countries. West African states must harmonize their gold tax policies and regulations, beginning with improved coordination among members of the Economic Community of West African States. This means smugglers will have fewer commercial route options. Finally, the key global issue of traceability must be dealt with. Traceability at the source remains difficult due to the informal nature of the artisanal mining sector. One method is to identify all of the actors in the trading chain. Because the majority of illegally traded gold from Africa is sold in the Dubai gold souk and then traded to refiners and jewelers worldwide, it is critical that the identities of international buyers be revealed. Additionally, international political and economic partners must put pressure on UAE authorities to be more transparent in this regard. Thanks for watching. If you like this type of content, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories.